will change, what impacts to expect, and what you need to stay safe.
To the interior room.
To the bullseye for Helene versus the Carolinas later this morning. Good Friday morning. Thanks for waking up with us for this special edition of WCNC Charlotte. I'm Ben Thompson.
And I'm Sarah French. As we come on air, there are dozens of school closings this morning. Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools will be on remote learning today, but many others are closed, including Gaston County schools, Cabarrus, Union, Cleveland County, and Rock Hill schools all closed today. A full list of closings running on the bottom of your screen right now.
We have team coverage for you this morning. Let's send it over to Larry Sprinkle for a look at your WCNC weather impact forecast. Larry.
Hey, good morning. Very latest in Helene in Georgia, South Georgia right now. Made landfall last night about 11:10 near Perry there in Florida. But you can see this monster storm, very concentric eye right there just to the southeast of Atlanta, Georgia, at least as far as the circulation, the center of circulation is. This is the 3 a.m. advisory, the latest advisory. We'll get another update here shortly. But wind sustained at 80 miles per hour, moving north-northeast at 30 miles per hour. This is a very fast-moving storm system. That's why we're expecting impact shortly here locally. We still have that tropical storm warning in effect for most of the area. That continues throughout the morning hours into the early part of the afternoon. The other issue, the potential for tornadoes. Chris has more about that coming up, but we have a tornado watch, and that's in effect until 8 a.m. this morning. That could be extended. Here's the radar right now, and you can see the circulation. A lot of heavy rain, strong storms, even spinning up some tornadoes over towards Charleston there in South Carolina. We'll zoom in and show you the latest from WCNC's radar. Light rain showers across the Charlotte metro area. The heaviest rain is back to the west and the southwest. Lots of warnings going on. Flood warnings over areas from Cherokee County all the way to York County. We have a flash flood warning right here in Mecklenburg County as well as Gaston. That's until 8:30 this evening. A lot of heavy rain over towards Mountain Island and that area. More flood warnings in effect in those mountain communities over towards Asheville, over towards Graham and Swain counties, over to Buncombe. I would say almost the entire region is under some sort of flood watch or flood warning at the moment. Heavy rainfall right now along the I-40 corridor from Asheville to Black Mountain to Marion, over towards Morganton, Hickory up towards Lenore as you head up towards the North Carolina high country. As we check some of the wind gusts at the moment, we have a wind gust of 52 miles per hour at Columbia, 30 over at Myrtle Beach, 21 at Raleigh, 32-mile-an-hour wind gusts right here in the Queen City. Those winds will continue to pick up wind gust speeds throughout the day. In fact, check this out. Hourly wind gusts well over 35 miles an hour this morning, 50 to 60 miles an hour as we head late morning, probably into early afternoon. We'll take a look at futurecast wind gusts. This morning, winds 30, 35 miles an hour around 4 a.m. We get to 5 a.m. We start to see the increase in those wind gust speeds over 40-mile-an-hour wind gusts south of here for the Charlotte area, around 36 miles an hour by 7 o'clock this morning. This is prime time for some of the most severe weather threats in our area. Winds gusting over 50 miles an hour. That's at 7 a.m. Around 9 a.m., look at that, winds gusting once again 50, 55 miles an hour. Then we see a little bit of a lessening in those wind gusts as we get towards early and even late afternoon. Some of our impacts today, highest wind will be this morning between now and probably 12 noon. As far as the tornado threat this morning between now 8, maybe extended to 9 o'clock. Power outages definitely a possibility from now all the way through the evening. Flooding, we are in a high risk. Turn around, don't drown. Some major flood issues. Remember, 6 inches of water can knock a person down. So when we say turn around, don't drown, that means everyone should take a look at that impact. 1 foot of water can actually float a car. 2 feet of water can float an SUV. So please take that into consideration. There are a lot of areas of water flowing over them right now. Rain and flood conditions today. Know your vulnerability. A lot of evacuations have already taken place. More will probably do so. So evacuate if you're told to do that. Do not walk or drive through that flood conditions, through that flood water. As we check out the potential for power outages today, certainly with those winds gusting 40 to 60 miles an hour, that could be a probability. And look at that, constant winds anywhere from about 20 to 35 miles per hour. For today, rain heavy at times throughout the morning. As we get to the afternoon, we could actually see by 4 o'clock a little peak of sunshine with temperatures today in the upper 70s. What happens over the next several days, those impacts, we'll talk about that. But now for the latest on some of the impacts we could see today, maybe even tornadoes. Here's Chris.
Yeah, we're going to really hone in in on the tornado potential here. Now, it's not going to be for everyone, and that's why we only have a tornado watch for some of our southern counties. That does include Gaston, Mecklenburg, Cabarrus County, and all counties further down to the south. This is technically the dirty side of the hurricane, which will be a tropical storm here shortly. And this is where you have the most wind shear. Wind shear is the change of wind speed and direction with height, and that adds a twist to the atmosphere. That's how tornadoes form. So this goes until 8 a.m., but I want you to disregard the time, and I'll show you why here in a second. Our tornado threat is actually highest down towards the southeast. That's where you have those outer bands where we typically have the most tornadoes, and these aren't just the spin-up ones. A lot of times these can have supercells. Those are those rotating singular thunderstorms within a line that have the better chance for long track tornadoes. So yesterday we had a lot of spin-up activity. This morning, we're going to have a better chance for them to last a little bit longer. Active tornado warnings are happening down towards the south, well outside of the area, well south of Columbia, really closer to Charleston. We actually have two back-to-back right next to each other around Charleston to Seabrook Island, and then also south of St. George is another tornado warning. And this is really just a testament. One of the biggest tools that we have as meteorologists is simply what's happening upstream or downstream or whatever's heading our direction. And you can already see that we're seeing signs of that this time of the morning. Yeah, it's going to be a good shot. What you're looking at right here is the future rotation track. So this is picking up on the data what areas are going to have the best chance for a spin to the atmosphere. Notice 6 o'clock. So I'm going to open up our window of opportunity that we're going to have our best chance for a rotating thunderstorm really by about 6. So let's call it 2 hours from now. That's where we're going to start to see some thunderstorms roll in. Here's 7 o'clock. Here's 8 o'clock. So that means the 7 to 8 to 9 o'clock hour, that's where the Charlotte area, I-77, during the peak travel, will have a chance for even some tornado warnings to be able to pop up. 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock, that's where it's getting out of our area. So that's why I told you to disregard the 8 o'clock. I'm actually pretty surprised they didn't extend this until at least 10 o'clock, but just letting you know that that's going to be a possibility. So really east of I-77, after 7 to 8, you're still going to have a chance for a rotating storm or a spin-up tornado. So make sure to keep that in mind. Hurricane Helene, soon to be tropical storm, really going to see conditions deteriorate hour by hour over the next few hours. So stay weather aware, stay safe.
All right. Chris, Larry, thank you both. And we are already starting to see some power outages in the Carolinas this morning. This is the latest from Duke Energy. Take a look. Over 5,000 in Mecklenburg County. Each one of these blue dots you see here on the screen represent a cluster of power outages, basically. More than 1,000 in Gaston, Iredell, Statesville, about 200. York County, 400. So this gives you some idea of a smattering of the outages around the area right now. We'll be checking throughout the morning right here on WCNC Charlotte. We expect those numbers to be going up, and we'll keep you posted.
We're also keeping track of flight delays and cancellations. Here's the latest from FlightAware. So far, more than 200 flights are canceled already out of Charlotte. Raleigh-Durham seeing about 20, and Atlanta over 100. This will affect all flights today, so check your status before you leave.
The Carolinas under state of emergencies right now. Several shelters activated in western North Carolina, and officials are urging folks in high-risk flooding areas to evacuate if possible.
WCNC Charlotte's Julia Kaufman has been following updates from state officials.
As rain hits the Carolinas Thursday, crews are preparing for what's to come.
Helene is forecast to bring more than a foot of rain to parts of western North Carolina, which will likely cause significant flash flooding, landslides.
Governor Roy Cooper says he's most concerned for the mountains, pointing to devastation from past storms.
Just a few years ago, Tropical Storm Fred shocked our mountain regions with torrential rain, sweeping away homes, bridges, and lives. With Helene, this can happen again.
Tropical Storm Fred hit Haywood County hard in 2021, killing 6 people. This time around, Cooper says communities are better prepared.
We learned lessons from Fred. I know that we have a lot of our equipment and supplies that are spaced throughout western North Carolina.
He's urging people in high-risk flooding areas to evacuate if possible, and the Red Cross is stepping in to help.
We have already pre-positioned resources, trailers, cots, and things like that so that we're ready to open the shelters as soon as we get the call from the emergency management officials.
Jerry Goldberg says the Red Cross is opening about 7 emergency shelters today in western North Carolina, and more are likely to come.
Stay home right now for the next couple of days, unless you're being told by emergency management officials to evacuate. Then we really suggest you evacuate sooner rather than later.
In South Carolina, officials say people in the upstate and Midlands should prepare for flash flooding, high winds, and possibly tornadoes.
There's been a lot of water in the upstate usually doesn't get that much rain, but we're going to get it up there this time. So we'd urge everybody around the state, stay off the roads if you can.
Julia Kaufman, WCNC Charlotte.
One of the biggest areas we're watching this morning is Mountain Island Lake, where right now folks are being asked to voluntarily evacuate, is what I'm being told. Authorities are wanting people to be ready to evacuate. Same thing. Normally, this lake is about 96 feet. Duke Energy says 100 feet is the maximum. Chris and Larry just laid out how bad the situation could be later this morning. So far, the consistent rainfall has put the area above elevation at more than 100 feet. Officials say the lake could rise to historic levels, and residents or neighbors, folks who live there, need to be ready.
Residents, particularly around Mountain Island Lake and along Lake Norman, Lake Wylie, and Catawba River, should be cautious and prepare now, because we are going to have to issue voluntary evacuation orders.
Speaking of evacuations, some in Gaston County already taking place. There are evacuations, voluntary evacuations underway in neighborhoods in Lowell and Mount Holly. This video we shot at Goat Island Park in Greenway. The park shut down early, and businesses in the area concerned about all this water. People say the area already floods a lot, even without this much rain.
The river comes up a lot. You'll start to see trees go up or not up and down, but just down the river. And in fact, we saw one earlier as well. So hopefully that doesn't continue to do bad. Hopefully no power lines or anything like that, but it has happened before.
And as we deal with the impacts from Hurricane Helene, it's nothing compared to what's happening in Florida right now. Take a look at this video from overnight. You can see severe flooding already taking place, washing over this roadway. NBC News reporter Jesse Kirsch dodged extremely strong winds, got wind gusts as the eye of the wall of the hurricane barreled through the town of Perry, Florida.
Seconds away, if not experiencing landfall right now. I can tell you that we have had intermittent moments. Some of the strong, and I want to point out, I don't know if you can even see it off in the distance, but there are cars out here. I can tell you first responders have been saying at 45-mile-per-hour winds, they were not going to be on the roads anymore. So anyone who is out here, presumably not a first responder, and should not be out on the roads. These winds are really picking up right now. We got some debris flying. We're going back inside. Guys, we're going to head back in. Stay with us, Stephanie, if you want. We're going to head back in right now. There's some debris that's flying now. We're getting back inside. The eye is going to be coming to us any moment now.
All right, Jesse, you get back inside. Be safe.
Go, go, go. Stephanie, I don't know if you can still hear me. Are you still with us?
I can't see you, but I can hear you, Jesse, so give us some more info.
Okay, yep, we just locked the door. Okay.
You just lost a what?
Okay, we're good. We're inside now.
Okay.
We just had to get that door locked. That's what we're dealing with. That is incredibly powerful. Okay, we're good. Smelled some gas from outside. Okay, we're okay. Our team's good. If you're still with us, Stephanie, we're good.
I know they take all safety precautions, but that is so terrifying for me when I watch someone do that.
On MSNBC with Stephanie Ruhl's show at 11 o'clock. Yeah, very scary.
Sometimes people are taking a little bit too much.
Yeah,
But you know, Chris has done. I've done it many years ago. Once you get caught up and you don't realize how dangerous it can be, like that situation.
I can remember being on the Outer Banks for a hurricane and was in the water, and a big log came by, swept under me, and I was reminded. Ben,
you're human.
Take a step back.
Don't be too dramatic.
No, exactly. Yep, you got to be careful.
All right, back with more on the hurricane. Go right here, right after the break.
This town is my home. I care about the people who live here. There's no substitute for
Now with an update on the very latest conditions as Helene makes her way toward our area.
And by the way, some of the impacts from the hurricane already getting some reports. Haywood County flash flood emergency and a considerable flash flood warning up around Burke County in that area. Is that right, Chris? Burke County? Yeah. Okay. Considerable up in Burke County, that area. The entire region is under a situation where I think there's going to be so many flood warnings that just about the entire county by county area will see that. Very latest on Helene, which made landfall last night at 11:10 near Perry, Florida, and the southeast of Tallahassee. You can see the current position right here. Puts it just north of Valdosta, Georgia, kind of on a beeline to Atlanta, Georgia, in our area. This is the 4M advisory, 100 miles southwest of Augusta, Georgia, moving north at about 30 miles an hour. This is a fast-moving system. Wind sustained at 75, so it's a Category 1 hurricane. We get the next advisory by probably about 5 a.m. It'll probably be down to a strong tropical storm at the time. Regardless, it is a major impact for the entire southeast. Current position is about 300 miles from Charlotte, just north of Valdosta, about 300 miles just to the southwest of Charlotte, and moving, as we said, at about 30 miles an hour. You can see the center of circulation right here. There's Atlanta, Georgia. There's Columbia. And over here around Charleston, South Carolina, those outer feeder bands, that's where we're starting to see some of the major impacts as far as tornado warnings, and that will certainly increase in intensity over the next several hours all across the Carolinas, especially the Charlotte metro area. Got a break in the heavier precipitation here in the Charlotte metro. You get up towards the high country in that area, up towards Ashe, Avery, Watauga County, some very heavy rainfall there along the I-40 corridor. You got some heavy rain back over to areas in the southwestern corner of the state. Once you get over towards areas near Cherokee, in that area, there's some very heavy rain. They've had as much as 10 to 12 inches of rainfall. Some gusty winds, 52-mile-an-hour wind gusts at Columbia, 32 at Charlotte, about 56. Look at that, Charleston, 56-mile-per-hour wind gust over there. That will continue throughout the morning into the afternoon. Here's some possible wind gusts for the Charlotte metro area. We take you to about 6 a.m. Winds gusting at 43. And notice this, 8 a.m. this morning, we can see winds gusting up to 65 miles per hour. That's tropical storm force wind, so something to be weather aware about the heavy rain and those high winds. Back with more right here, right after the break.
Your family can have the kitchen of your dreams for less than $500 a month. Make your house a home with Kitchen Tune-Up.
Invest in your nest. Call Kitchen Tune-Up for your free consultation today.
The attacks against Attorney General Josh Stein are unfair and untrue.
Absolutely.
Tree coming down on a car. This was at Sharon Road and Phoenix Place. It looks like there was no injuries out of this. A person was able to get out, but that wasn't just a parked car. It looks like somebody might have been in the car at that point.
That whole, if you think of Sharon Road, is lined with those big oak trees, some 7,500 years old. Those are the most vulnerable. I think, like you say, this is just the beginning, something to be weather aware about. And you can see behind us, this is it, that massive storm system. Hurricane Helene starting to lose some intensity, but still a major factor, not only for areas where it's directly over right now, but for all of the southeast, especially right here in the Carolinas. The 4M advisory puts the storm system right about 100 miles to the southwest of Augusta, Georgia. Wind sustained at 75 miles per hour, moving north at about 30 miles per hour. So this is trucking along. That is a fast rate of movement. Once again, 75 miles per hour with some winds gusting up to about 85 to 100. We do have the tropical storm warning. In fact, that includes all the Charlotte metro area, then back to the south and southwest. Now, areas not within that warning doesn't mean that you don't have the potential for some high winds. Certainly the potential is there. Also, we're going to have potential for some spin-up tornadoes. Chris has more about that coming up, so that's something to be weather aware about. Impacts, between now and, say, 10 this morning locally for the Charlotte metro area, south of here, anywhere from Lancaster south up until about 8 a.m. Some of the major impacts, although the impacts will be felt on and off all day today. Once again, the position is current position is about 300 miles to the southwest of the Charlotte area. You can see that circulation right there and all the heavy rainfall, the gusty winds. I mentioned this a minute ago that some of those outer feeder bands up around the Charleston area, that's where they're getting some strong storms and some spin-up tornadoes. We kind of zoom in and show you what's going on in our area. Light rainfall here, so we got a bit of a break in the heavy rain. Some of the heaviest rain at the moment is up in the mountains and along the I-40 corridor. Some very heavy rain, flooding rains over there. That's the potential for a lot of flood situation. These flash flood warnings are just about everywhere on the map, from Burke County to McDowell County west of here, down in South Carolina, Cherokee County, South Carolina, also York County. Also, we have a flash flood warning in effect for Mecklenburg and Gaston counties, and that's all the way up until 8:30 this evening. You go west of here, more of those flood warnings. I would say if you're watching this right now, more than likely you're under a flood warning. And then those gusty winds, latest gust here in Charlotte has been about 32 miles an hour. You heard about the tree down on Sharon Road. That's from a wind gust of only about 30 miles an hour. You get a wind gust up to 50, 60 miles an hour, devastation could happen. Additional rainfall, 4 to 7 inches possible in the mountains, 2 to 3 inches for the Charlotte metro. That's already in addition to what we already have. 6 inches of water can knock a person down. 1 foot of water can float a car. Those are some of the flood impacts. 2 feet of water can float an SUV. Remember, turn around, don't drown. It's so simple, but it's so true. Flood safety, rain and flood conditions all day today, especially this morning. Know your vulnerability. Evacuate if you're told. Well, many people have already had that happen. Do not walk or drive into the flooded water. Something to just think about. So very important. Stay weather aware all day, and the potential for strong and severe storms, spawning tornadoes, and those winds gusting up to about 50 to 60 miles an hour. We're in the upper 70s, maybe a peak of sunshine late this afternoon. Chris?
I want to talk a little bit more about those flash flood warnings, as you mentioned. Now, for the tornadoes, we're waiting for that threat to arrive, I would say a few hours from now. But actively, we have our first flash flood emergency of the morning. So what that typically means is a very rare situation that historic flooding is happening around Waynesville. We've already seen what's happening in Asheville, where Asheville is challenging a higher crest and higher flooding than 1916. If you've ever been to Asheville, there's multiple lines across the French Broad River showing how high the water rose. We're challenging that today, and we haven't even had Helene hit. So a flash flood emergency before we've even seen the most impacts. That is Haywood County. And what this really means is that whenever you have a difference from a base warning to a catastrophic or a considerable, it's going to be either one alerts your phone and the other ones is just going to really almost be history making. So if you get a base warning, you're not going to get notified on your phone. A lot of you now, including Burke County, the most recent one that was added, this considerable flash flooding means this is used rarely. Urgent action is needed to protect lives and property. And whenever it's put under a catastrophic flooding or flash flood emergency, this is extremely rare. That means flood levels have risen to historic levels and we have a life-threatening situation. So again, it is now Haywood County that is the first, and I'm putting that first flash flood emergency because I don't think that we're done yet. What you're seeing is the orange shading. I know there's a lot going on here, but literally there's everything going on. It's all these boxes that are outlined in orange. Those are all considerable flash flood warnings. So those are very rare. This one that's happening right over Chester and over into York County, this could be upgraded as more rain starts to roll in. So that is the only real flash flood warnings that we have across the area. But we've seen a tremendous amount of rain recently. Rainfall totals, not too much since midnight, but you can see rain total from yesterday. Asheville saw close to 6 inches. Rock Hill, a historic day, over 5 inches. We'll see you after the break.
Just for you to take a look at. What do you think?
So here, from design and products to removal and installation, Rebath is with you through every step of your remodel.
Take advantage of our summer special, 0% interest or $1,250 off a bathroom remodel.
WCNC Charlotte, news that impacts you.
Kamala supports taxpayer-funded sex changes for prisoners.
Surgery.
For prisoners.
For prisoners. Every transgender.
The way for flooding and even landslides. It happens quite often in these situations, so be weather aware. At least an improving situation over the next 10 days, not 7 days, although today is the day. Heavy rain, strong winds, flooding rains. We can see winds gusting over 55 miles an hour. The weekend, not bad at all. Low 80s Saturday and Sunday. More news coming up right here at 4:30 on WCNC Charlotte.
I got them AR-15s in case the government gets too big for its britches. Because I'm going to fill the backside of them britches with some lead. Go into battle and take the head of your enemy. Because it's time to go to war, folks. Get mad at me if you want to. Some folks need killing.
of school closings. Remote learning today, but many others are closed, including Gaston County schools, Cabarrus, Union, Cleveland County, and Rock Hill schools, all closed today. A full list of closings running at the bottom of your screen.
We have team coverage throughout the morning. Let's first turn it over to Larry Sprinkle with a look at your WCNC weather impact forecast.
And good morning. Yes, this is the day we've been talking about for really several days now. The impacts being felt today. Landfall last night near Perry, Florida. That's the southeast of Tallahassee. The time was 11:10. It was 140 mile an hour winds, a Category 4 hurricane at landfall. Still major impacts being felt. And notice the size of the storm system, how it just spreads out across the southeast and covering parts of Florida, covering parts of Georgia, all the way into South Carolina, obviously into North Carolina. That's how massive the storm system is. Latest advisory puts Helene right now at about 100 miles southwest of Augusta, Georgia. Winds sustained at 75 miles per hour and moving north at 30 miles an hour. This is a fast-moving storm system. With that comes some gusty winds. So this is still a Category 1 hurricane with major impacts across the Carolinas. As we technically show, we still have a tropical storm warning in effect right here in the Charlotte metro area. We're talking about we could see winds gusting well over 55 to 60 miles an hour later this morning. Here's a radar picture, and you can see the circulation around that and how widespread that is. It covers Atlanta, Georgia, Columbia, South Carolina, Charleston, all the way into the Charlotte metro area. That's the big storm system. We just have some light rain here. Some of the heaviest rain is really west of here. Heaviest at the moment is covering parts of the upstate of South Carolina into that western part of North Carolina, from Brevard, Hendersonville, all the way to Waynesville, where there's a flash flood emergency over there with just really record-breaking amounts of rainfall. Some of the Helene impacts today: stay weather aware. Wind, yes, the highest winds will be this morning, especially probably from about 7 a.m. until noontime. Tornado, yes, the situation could happen. We could see some spin-ups just like we saw yesterday. Outages, power outages, they haven't started yet, but we're going to start to see more and more of those. The trees go down. We've already had some of that happen. Power lines affected. High risk for flooding. Turn around, don't drown. There's flood situations all across the area today, and I think that's going to be around throughout the morning, right into the early part of the afternoon. Let's get some more impacts over to Chris.
We always look upstream to see what's happening, what's heading our way. I'm just letting you know there's multiple tornado warnings down towards the south. Not yet in our area, but this is a testament of what's to come. That's why we have a tornado watch that goes until 8 o'clock. You heard everything Larry mentioned. We're dealing with the flooding. We're dealing with tropical storm force winds. But on top of that, we're also dealing with some potentially strong tornadoes. So check out what's going on. We have 3 active tornado warnings just ending between Charleston and Columbia. The most recent ones that we've seen is right here. One physically over Orangeburg, the other one a little bit further off towards the east of Orangeburg, heading directly towards the Columbia area. And right now the verbiage now is these are moving pretty fast in general. And I think that you're going to see any tornado that does form, or even the cell that's going to form, there's going to be flying. Right now this is moving north at 65 miles per hour. So it's really tough to plan and get ahead of that. This one near Orangeburg, where that tornado warning goes until 4:45, that is also moving north at 65 miles per hour. So eventually this is going to work its way a little bit closer to home. We're also looking at some really strong winds in this. Check out some of the estimated winds within some of these cells. 45 miles per hour up to 102. I'm not saying it's necessarily getting that, but we have some really strong potential for winds in general. On top of that, a big twist to the atmosphere. All of your hour-by-hour forecast showing you the tornadoes coming up here shortly.
We're staying on top of the latest weather conditions across our area this morning. We have our WCNC Charlotte team standing by to keep you updated. WCNC Charlotte's Kaylin Hagwood is in Rock Hill this morning, but first we're going to send it over to WCNC Charlotte's Richard Devane, who's over at Mountain Island Lake, where people there are under evacuation orders. Richard.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. Good morning to you, Sarah. Good Friday morning, everyone. We've noticed as we came down here on Riverside Drive, which is an area that over the years we've seen flooding, we've noticed that a lot of the residents who are in the lower part of this area were actually moving their vehicles up the road to higher ground. The person who actually lives at the house where we're standing, they are saying that their vehicles are so high up they think they're going to be okay. But I'm going to tell you something. The last thing that I said to Larry this morning, or he said to me before I walked out, was drivers, remember to tell everybody, turn around, don't drown. That's important today because even officials can sometimes get into problems. As we look at video, this is a National Guard unit that was coming down Riverside Drive and not knowing the area. It's a high water unit. It actually got stuck in a culvert, and now the Charlotte Fire Department is performing a rescue of the folks inside that unit. Now, they moved this back here for safety precautions. It's a bit up the road, but that just underscores the issues that anyone can have in a situation like this. Now, as we come back here live, looking at that, I just saw a few moments ago the fire department folks putting on their rescue equipment. They're about to go and get those folks who are inside that unit out. We'll have updates and continue to remind folks that if you see standing water, please try not to drive through it. That's the story right here off Riverside Drive. I'm going to send it back to you guys.
All right, Richard, keep us posted. WCNC Charlotte's Kaylin Hagwood now live in Rock Hill with the latest there. Kaylin?
Well, Ben, Sarah, I can tell you that it has already started to pick up since we have been here. The rain is coming down, the wind so loud that you can actually hear it as it whips past the trees. I've been holding my hat a couple of times just to make sure that it stays on, and here is one of the reasons why. As that rain picks up, we're going to start to see more images like this. I'm walking back. I'm right near the Catawba River by Pump House Restaurant. If you're from this area, you visited the restaurant, very nice place. You can see already up to my ankles here, next to the Catawba River. I'm going to have our photographer show you just back here behind me. Those are bike racks. The bike racks already underneath the water, and we're expecting to see more rain. Rock Hill actually saw record rainfall yesterday, and that was just from the outer bands of Helene and a different system as part of this storm. So not even fully seeing the effects of this storm and already starting to see so much rain. And with that saturation that we have already seen, that means it's going to create more opportunity for trees to topple over, for those trees to knock down power lines. And that's why we want everyone to be weather aware today. If you're heading out on a commute, maybe you're up early this morning, right, hanging out at home. But once you get outside of the house, what the conditions could look like, what it could look like on the road, on those flood-prone areas, what it could look like in the areas that aren't as flood-prone. This trash can here, I mean, it was over there. We watched it float over here just within the time of us being out here for about 30 minutes or so. So the rain is getting heavier, and the storm hasn't even fully hit this area, but we know that Rock Hill is going to be hard hit by this, just one of our areas that we're monitoring. I'm going to send things back to you.
All right, one of many areas. All right, Kaylin, thanks. And remember, WCNC Charlotte we will be with you through the storm throughout this morning. And as we track Helene, remember you can always watch us online as well. If you lose power, scan the QR code or stream right now anytime on WCNC.com. More WCNC weather impact coverage of Helene next.
Home Goods, go finding.
My husband and I are going through IVF treatments now. It could be our only chance to have a family. But Donald Trump's plan could ban IVF in some states. My husband is in the military. He volunteered to serve. We are patriots and we go where he is assigned. What if we end up in a state where IVF is no longer legal? What will we do then?
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
It started. It's the side hug. Tween milestones like this may start at age 9.
HPV vaccination, a type of cancer
landfall. Looking at some light rain here. The heaviest rain is north of here, west of here, and some of the biggest amounts of rainfall totals this morning have been in the upstate of South Carolina, the extreme western part of the state. Lots of warnings out there. The latest we just got in was talking to Chris a moment ago about this particular one right here, a base flash flood warning. This is for Iredell County. Numerous roads are covered in water in Iredell County. So once again, emphasizing if you can stay home today across the area, it's much safer to do that. You come to water across the road, turn around, don't drown. That could cause some major issues. We've already seen a lot of that. You go west of here, there's more warnings in effect from, say, from Asheville to Waynesville, all the way across the Great Smoky Mountains. For today, heavy rain. We could see winds gusting up to 55 to 60 miles an hour this morning. An additional maybe 2 to 4 inches of rain here in the mountains, another 5 to 7 inches. Good news, by this afternoon, we could see a peak or two of sunshine with temperatures in the upper 70s. Back with more right here, right after the break.
At Affordable Dentures and Implants, we want you to go ahead and smile. Right now, new denture wearers get a free upgrade to our premium denture for the price of an economy. Call today. Offer ends October.
Now,
I think the craziest thing is that we haven't even seen the heaviest rain from Helene,
yeah.
And we're seeing some of these levels. So already right now, and we've reported earlier that Mountain Island was now forecasted to reach 110 feet. So that would be a historic level,
Exactly.
highest it's been.
Richard Devane is in that area right now, yeah.
And we can tell Richard that the official most recent update is 103.15 feet. So the Catawba River at Mountain Island Dam, already the 6th highest crest that they've had, and we haven't even seen some of the heavier rain. So that's why it looks like it's going to be a record breaking. And I think a lot of these local rivers and streams that are monitored are going to hit record levels that since they've been recorded.
And we still have hours to go before the impacts are over. Let's take a look at the bigger view, show you what's going on. Landfall last night, if you're just tuning in to WCNC Charlotte, was around 11:10, 10 minutes after 11 at Perry, Florida. That's east-southeast of Tallahassee. And it was a Category 4 hurricane with winds 140 miles an hour. But you can see this is a massive storm system. The territory it covers is somewhere from about 400 to 450 miles. So it's covering parts of Florida, Georgia, and the 2 Carolinas. That's how big the system is. We'll have a new update on the advisory, but this is the latest we have. Current position puts it to the southwest of Augusta, Georgia, but moving at a rate of 30 miles per hour. That speed will just increase the intensity of the storm with sustained winds at 75 miles per hour, getting some gusts up to about 100. We still have a tropical storm warning in effect effect for our area. If you're not colored in, doesn't mean you're not going to get the potential, and the potential also for some spin-up tornadoes with a tornado watch in effect as well. You can see the circulation right there. Some of the heaviest rainfall at the moment is really between Atlanta, Georgia, and Columbia, South Carolina. And also, you can see these outer feeder bands right there around the Charleston area. There are some tornado warnings between Charleston and Columbia. Not to say we couldn't see that happen right here, just as we did yesterday. A lull in the precipitation in the Charlotte area, but you go west if you're over towards the foothills and the northern mountains of North Carolina. Then you get over towards the Asheville area down in the upstate of South Carolina. Some very heavy rainfall there. Hendersonville, all the way as you get down into areas around Spartanburg and Greenville. If you have travel plans today, I would say if you can avoid it, because this situation is going to get worse. At the moment, there's heavy rain covering the western part of North Carolina, the upstate of South Carolina. So if you have to be out, please be weather aware. Please be careful out there. Just not a good time to be traveling. We have flash flood warnings all across the area. Flash flood warning in effect for Alexander and Caldwell counties over there until 9 this morning. Also for areas in Iredell. We just got that report up there of water covering many of the roads in Iredell County from Statesville back to the northwest of there. And then you go into the western part of the state, there are flash flood warnings in effect for the entire region. The main issue we're going to see later in Charlotte, not only be the heavy rain, but the potential for some gusty winds. We could see winds gusting over 60 miles an hour from about 8 a.m. all the way up to the lunchtime hour. These are futurecast wind gusts, I would say between now and 5 a.m. winds gusting over 30 miles an hour. Then we get to about 7 a.m. winds gusting over 50 miles an hour, and that continues all the way up to about 9, 10 o'clock this morning. That's something to be aware about as well. Make sure you got the phone charged, you got the batteries, because we're going to see a lot of power outages. An additional 4 to 7 inches of rain possible into what they already have in the mountains. We could see another 2 to 3 inches of rain across the Charlotte metro area. Flood safety, rain and flood conditions throughout the day today. Know your vulnerability. Evacuate if you're told to. Do not walk or drive through flooded water. That's something to think about. Heavy rain, gusty winds today, but a peak of sunshine this afternoon to get us up to about 79 degrees. More impacts right now. Back over to Chris.
Thanks a lot, Larry. Where that graphic was perfect, where it showed the rain pretty much cutting off by 1 o'clock, and that's also where our weather aware window is. So we're going to be opening this up really now through 1 p.m., where we'll continue to see an increased risk for tornadoes over the next few hours. I think really after 6 for that. The heavier rain is starting to move in, and wind gusts up to 50 to 60 miles per hour look to be the max. We've already had one down tree here in Charlotte with gusts to 30. You can only imagine what a 50-pluser is going to do. What else that we have to mention is that we have active tornado warnings, 3 officially, just southeast of Columbia, north of Charleston, and those are going to continue to stretch their way further off towards the north. So as I mentioned, our tornado window, where we have a tornado watch until 8 o'clock, I would disregard that. I think we're still going to have a chance for tornado warnings after that. Opens up at 6, 7 o'clock. I think Charlotte, the best chance really in areas south thereof, around Rock Hill, where Kayland is, that's where we have a better chance for more rotation. That's what you're seeing for these tracks down towards the south. After the supposed watch is ending, and it could be expanded, I would say, east of I-77 and off towards the northeast of Concord, that's where we're seeing some really high rotation along the system. At that point, that's the northeastern quadrant of Helene. Then to 9 to 10 o'clock, still seeing some rotation on our eastern side. And then once we get to 11 to noon, I think our tornado chapter is going to close for this system. So that's why we're seeing a much higher tornado chance further to the east and southeast, unless the further west that you go. Meanwhile, areas west dealing with a lot more rain and even higher winds from tropical storm force winds from what will be Tropical Storm Helene per the next update. Be safe, everyone, and stay weather aware.
If you want better home internet that's built for rural America, meet the next generation of HughesNet.
Hi! Now I can video conference with confidence. Yes!
You look at all the rain, camera.
Weather scenario we're going to see all day today throughout the entire region.
Okay, well, we have some new video first out of Mountain Island Lake where you can see a National Guard truck that got stuck in floodwaters here. This is an important reminder about why you should not drive today unless you absolutely have to, which is mainly first responders. Several areas of Mountain Island Lake are under evacuation orders this morning. We'll hear from Richard coming up at 5 a.m.
And if you are just now waking up with us, here's an update on the school delays and cancellations as it stands right now at 4:56. Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools will be on remote learning today, but many others are just going to be fully closed, including Gaston County schools, Cabarrus, Union, Cleveland County, Rock Hill schools, all closed today. We do have a full list of those running at the bottom of your screen, or you can always find the latest right now on WCNC.com.
All right, now, Larry, how are we looking out there?
Today, heavy rain, high winds, not a good day at all, but good news, this weekend will be very nice. Here's a Guy Roofing 7-day forecast. Tomorrow, near 80 degrees of game day, great weather Sunday, about 82. And then next week, Monday and Tuesday, still sunshine, blue skies. We're in the low 80s, mid to upper 70s next Wednesday and Thursday. Make sure you're aware all the impacts, everything will happen today. How much rain should we get? What about the wind gusts? Will we see any tornadoes? And the latest news. We got more coming up next right here on WCNC Charlotte at 5 a.m.
A live look at the radar. Folks, this is a powerful storm that came ashore overnight. And on the right, uptown Charlotte from our view camera, powerful rains and winds as strong as 35 miles an hour impacting uptown. But the worst of it still a few hours away for folks here in Charlotte. As you wake up this morning, we are reminding you to stay weather aware. I'm Ben Thompson.
And I'm Sarah French. A lot to get to this morning. Our team is standing by tracking the impacts of Helene and what's happening in our area. Destiny Richards going to have the impacts on the roads. But let's begin with meteorologist Chris Mulcahy and Larry Sprinkle, who are tracking your weather impact forecast. So we're going to start with you, Larry.
Hey, good morning. Yeah, we'll take a look at the very latest landfall last night, about 11:10. It was in Perry, Florida. That's to the southeast of Tallahassee. It was a Category 4 hurricane with winds 140 miles an hour. This is a monster system. The 5 a.m. advisory indicates down to strong tropical storm strength, so that is good news. Wind sustained right now at about 70 miles an hour, moving north at 30 miles an hour. The current position is about 40 miles to the east of Macon, Georgia, and you can see how the incredible amount of territory it takes up, all the way from Atlanta to Huntsville, Alabama to Nashville, some of the feeder bands there from Columbia. Heavy rainfall tracking across our area. But in the Charlotte Metro at the moment, there's a break in some of the heaviest rainfall. Much heavy rainfall, York, South Carolina. Then you go into the foothills and northern mountains of North Carolina. Some heavy rain along the I-40 corridor. Some heavy rain upstate of South Carolina. Big storm system down there. There are a lot of flood warnings and flood emergencies being reported across the region. We have flood warnings in effect for Alexander, Caldwell counties, also Iredell County. Many of the roads covered there, Burke, McDowell. Also Mecklenburg County. You go west of here into the upstate of South Carolina, the western part of North Carolina. Those are all flood warnings. They cover almost every single county. Then we got some winds gusting to 43 miles per hour here in Charlotte. 51 mile an hour wind gusts at Columbia, 56 at Charleston in South Carolina. That's another issue we're going to see today. Potential wind gusts over 60 miles an hour between 9 a.m. and 11 this morning. So high wind gusts, heavy rain, flooding conditions. We could see another 4 to 7 inches in the mountains, 2 to 3 inches more right here in the Charlotte area. What are some of the other impacts today? Back over to Chris.
Let's talk about tornadoes. It's all about what's happening down below us, and this is actually a really serious situation that's developing as far as these tornadoes go. Oftentimes when there's individual cells, you can have some supercells. So that's why I want everyone really from Charlotte south need to be watchful, especially between about 6 and 10 o'clock today, because we're not just looking at tornado warnings. I think some of these are really significant. So what you can actually see here is a little bit of a hook signature. So this is kind of a classic supercell that usually brings stronger tornadoes. The estimated winds with this up to 100 miles per hour. Now, the concern I have along this rotation is that we have been seeing a little bit of debris potentially along it. So this is what's called the correlation coefficient, that sometimes if you see some bright shadings around that could show that debris is being sucked up into the clouds. So there's a potential tornado on the ground there, but not confirmed yet. Also, flash flood warnings aren't just flash flood warnings, the base version. They're considerable. These are very rare, meaning that we're starting to get to life-threatening situations, including one flash flood emergency west of Asheville. So it's an ongoing situation, but we've really only just begun. And when that heavier rain hits us, it's definitely going to affect your morning commute. Destiny, what's going on, at least for right now?
Well, right now, I just want to give a snapshot of just some of the things that we'll be dealing with today. Power outages, definitely those down power lines, wet roads, and debris in the roadway. So you really want to prepare for everything when you go out on the roads this morning. And we're kind of seeing that across the area on the map. But I'll go to some of the road blockages that we're seeing already early this morning. One up here in Iredell County, road blocked from a fallen tree on East Rocky River Road, west between Davidson Concord Road and Shear Road. Another road blockage, Cindy Lane at I-77, and then another one down here, Tilly Morris Road at Ardrey Kell Road. So it's really a day to stay inside if you can, but you have to be out on the roads. Drive very safely this morning.
Destiny, thank you. Of course, we're staying on top of the latest weather conditions all across the Carolinas this morning. Here's a live look at the heavy rain in Boone. You can see just how windy it is as that rain continues to come down. We have our WCNC Charlotte team standing by to keep you updated. WCNC Charlotte's Caitlin Hadwood is in Rock Hill this morning, but first we're going to send it out to WCNC Charlotte's Richard Devane, who's near Mountain Island Lake, where people are under evacuation orders right now. Richard?
That is absolutely correct. Folks have already started to move their cars to higher ground. A lot of folks have left their homes, especially the homes that are down behind me. Just speaking to a resident a few minutes ago who was telling me that actually this road, as you see right in front of me, goes around to a curve, and that is totally underwater. It's like an extension of Mountain Island Lake. Now, at this time, you see the reason that there are all these emergency vehicles here, not only blocking to keep people from going down this way, but the National Guard actually had a high water vehicle that went through, and it hit a culvert, not knowing exactly what to do, but it got stuck. Now, just in the last few moments, we were able to see them as the Charlotte Fire Department was able to rescue those folks, just underscoring that even a vehicle that is made for high water can get into trouble. It wasn't the fact that it was the water, it was the fact that they hit a culvert. But anyone should know that if you see standing water, don't try to go through it. The best advice today, if you don't have to be out on the roads, or if you are and you see water, turn around, don't drive. That's a quick message right here this morning. We're off of Mountain Island Lake. This is Richard Devane. We'll send it back to you.
Thank you for that. Now to WCNC Charlotte's Kaylin Hagwood. She's live in Rock Hill. Kaylin?
Well, Ben, here in Rock Hill, we're already starting to see that rain come down heavy, leading river levels to rise and causing things like this trash can floating toward us just within the past 30 minutes. And you can see why. This is actually a parking lot in front of the Pump House restaurant. If you've ever been here, it's just off of the Catawba River. And we are seeing these river levels like this in part because of Helene, but also because of the precursor from Helene yesterday, already causing record flooding for this area here in Rock Hill. And we're only expecting to see more rain like this. So while this is very close to the Catawba River, officials want you to be weather aware no matter where you are in the city. Of course, being watchful for those flood prone areas, but other areas that could be flooding that you may not even realize. Coming up later in the show, we're going to tell you a little bit more about some of the dangers that it can present to you as those trees come down with that saturated ground. Reporting live here in Rock Hill, going to send things back to you.
Going to be a big problem across the Carolinas with our large trees. All right, Kaylin, thank you.
And remember, WCNC Charlotte will be with you through this storm and in the days after as we track Helene. Remember, you can always watch us online. Just scan the QR code on your screen right now to stream anytime.
And as we go to break, we leave you with a look at flooding down in Rock Hill. It's still dark out there as daylight comes, though, and as the storm gets closer, things are going to get much worse. More of our WCNC weather impact coverage coming up after the break.
The Carolina Chevy Storm Tracker, only on WCNC Charlotte.
The Morgans won big today with Window Nation.
Their drafty old windows are out of here.
We're loving the look of our new windows.
We paid way less than we thought we would.
No more drafts or crazy energy bills. See how much you could save with a free estimate today.
Driving the Nissan Rogue with Google built in is like...
Hey, Google, turn on
You've sent us across the Carolinas just a few hours ago, someone tweeting WCNC Charlotte Chief Meteorologist Brad Panovich showing their basement flooded in Burt County. Another person showing the Watauga River filling up behind their home. Of course, you can continue to send us messages on X or text 704-329-3600 if it is safe to do so. And take a look at this video from viewer Dan Whitaker. This is the French Broad River in Asheville. You can see how flooded it was yesterday, and that is only expected to get worse today. Let's send it over to Larry on the impacts of this storm right now. Larry.
Yeah, good morning. That dramatic video right there, and we're just going to see an increase in this today, Chris. I mean, it's really, we're talking about emergency situation that's starting to happen.
And to mention one river that we just mentioned, that was South Fork Catawba River at Lowell. Right now, it's just shy of 12 feet. Once it gets to 13 feet, it's moderate level, and this is projected to go to major level above 16 to 17 feet. So just note, leading up to the afternoon and even after the rain stops.
You're right there at Lowell and McAdenville, right around Goat Island and that area right there. That's it's so flood prone. Something to think about. If you've seen flooding in areas that you're nearby recently or at any time in the past, that's going to happen again. I mean, there's no doubt about it. We're going to see all those areas flooding.
And even if you've lived in this area for a while, right now they're projected that this will be in the top 5 highest crests that they've had for that section of the river.
So something to be weather aware about. Let's take a look at what happened earlier today. In fact, it was last night. Hurricane Helene made landfall as a Category 4 hurricane with winds 140 miles an hour. And that was around Perry, Florida, just to the southeast of Tallahassee. That was last night at 11:10. Landfall was made. Major hurricane, at least down to tropical storm force winds, but still a very strong tropical storm, winds sustained at 70 miles per hour and moving north at 30. So it is trucking along. That's a fast moving system right there. The current position puts it about 40 miles to the east of Macon, Georgia. But you can see how massive the storm system is. And with the potential for strong storms, we're still in the tropical storm warning stage. By the time it reaches the Charlotte metro area, we still could see winds over 30 miles an hour sustained, and those are tropical storm force winds. A lot of potential issues today, tropical storm force winds, and also the potential for spin-up tornadoes. We saw that yesterday. It could happen once again today. Chris has been talking about that all morning long, so be weather aware about that. We're within that realm, within 25 miles of any point. Charlotte and the entire region is in the realm of seeing some spin-up tornadoes across the area. We'll take a look at the size of the system, and actually it stretches all the way into Alabama, Tennessee, obviously Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina. The whole system is about 450 miles wide, and that's why everything around that is going to be affected by the tropical storm force winds and the very heavy flooding rain. Satellite radar indicates some heavy rain back to the southwest and west. We've got travel plans: Interstate 77 southbound, Highway 74 westbound, Interstate 85 into South Carolina. Then Interstate 40, another issue would be the amount of rainfall. We've heard about all the rain from Asheville off to the west, and then the French Broad River, obviously major issues there, even around Biltmore Mansion there, Biltmore House there in Asheville, getting some reports of some flooding conditions, and even downtown Asheville has had some terrible flooding. That's going to continue. Heavy rainfall this morning up Interstate 85, Greenville, Spartanburg, all the way up into areas in the upstate of South Carolina. We take a look and show you around the region here within our area. Burke County, a tremendous amount of rain. There are flood warnings over there. Alexander, Caldwell County, flash flood warning, and also for Iredell County, report coming out of Iredell County, many roads covered in water. Winds gusting up to 43 miles per hour in Charlotte, 56 at Charleston, 46 at Columbia. Some of the impacts from the tropical storm Helene, which has sustained winds at 70 miles per hour. This is a major storm that's going to affect us for hour after hour, especially this morning. Winds gusting right now anywhere from about 35 to near 40 miles an hour. We get to 7 o'clock this morning, just 2 hours away from now, we're going to see winds gusting over 50 miles an hour, and that continues all the way probably up to about 12 noon, and then less amounts of wind gust problems later on today. We do have that flood watch in effect all the way until this afternoon. That covers almost the entire region. We've got a lot of flood warnings out there right now. An additional 4 to 7 inches of rain possible in the mountains. Even right here, we could see an additional 2 to 3 inches of rain. 6 6 inches of water, by the way, can knock a person down. Turn around, don't drown. 1 foot of water can actually float a car. 2 feet can float an SUV. So 2 feet of water. If you have to be out today, drive carefully, drive slowly. Windshield wipers are in order. But if you can stay home, it's probably a good thing to be weather aware about that and just be safe. Stay weather aware. Have a plan. Have a safe spot. Set up those warning alerts. You should be safe during a severe weather event. That's something we always talk about. More impacts from this storm. Back over to Chris.
Hey, thanks a lot, Larry. Well, I want to mention that as I'm monitoring the National Weather Service, they're getting a lot of different information in here. But check this out. We actually have a new photo that just came in. Just give me 1 second. So this happened in Burke County from one of our storm spotters. This is a tree that fell down on a car that was driving around. I really want to drive this home. The biggest issue that we already had, we had a gust of 30 miles per hour in Charlotte from all the rain that we saw yesterday, and a tree came down in just south of Uptown. That was a gust of 30. And we have a chance at 50 to 60 mile per hour winds. These reports are happening all over the place. So we've already had 2 reports of a tree actually falling on a car with somebody in it. This is one of the biggest hazards that we have from these events. So please, please, please be careful, because the more saturated the soil is, the easier these trees can topple over, even at 30 miles per hour. And don't even count in doubling that, where you're going to see the amount of trees down and also power outages. Look at the rainfall yesterday, 6 inches in Nashville. That is actually almost doubling what we had the day before. Rock Hill, 5.32 inches, the most rain that Rock Hill has ever recorded in their recorded history, dating back to 1999. And yesterday was also a historic day for Charlotte for that day in climatology, the 3rd wettest day of September. So a lot of those rain records continue to fall, and a lot more rain will continue to also fall over the next 2 days, and today including day 2. And what this is going to do is, if we get 3 inches of rain here around the Charlotte area, this could easily be in the top 5 for the 2 wettest days back to back in Charlotte history. Another thing to mention is that we're also going to have an increased threat for tornadoes. So our futurecast rotation showing really between about 6 and 10 o'clock is the highest threats, especially from Charlotte down towards the south. This could be expanded a little bit later on, because this does expire the tornado watch at 8 p.m. or 8 a.m., excuse me. And then east of I-77, it starts to spread its way off towards the north and east as we continue throughout the day. So Larry's mentioned the tropical storm force winds that we're going to have a possibility. We're already seeing damage all over the place. So if you see things start to pick up where you are and it's safe to do so, this is what you need to do. Download our WCNC News app and just go to the Near Me section. That is where you can share all your photos with us, because it's much better than what we're showing on radar. We actually want to see what's going on, but only if it's safe to do so. And we're also going to start to see a lot more incidents across the area. Destiny, what's going on traffic-wise?
Well, right now, I just want to report about another road blockage in Gaston County. This has actually been hanging around since 7:30 last night, but hopes are that it'll open up sometime today. Roadblock due to fallen trees and power lines on US 321 between C. Greer Beam Boulevard and Tulip Drive, so just north of Gastonia here. And then these have been hanging around road blockage Cindy Lane at I-77. And then we also have down to the south here a road blockage at Tilly Morris Road at Ardrey Kell Road. And right now we've just again been seeing those flooded roadways with those winds picking up. We're definitely going to see a lot of those power lines down and a lot of those trees down on the road and even branches. So especially if you live in those tree dense neighborhoods, you want to be careful as you're heading out of your neighborhood this morning. And again, send photos so we know where those blockages might be.
Jesse, thanks. 5:19. If you're just now joining us and waking up, we do believe that the worst of it is going to be hitting the Charlotte area in the next few hours. Helene, now a tropical storm, that new in the last 15 minutes. And we are tracking a dramatic climb in power outages, folks. Right now, more than 280,000 people across North and South Carolina are waking up right now without power. About 8,000 of those here in the Charlotte metro area, and we expect that number to keep climbing throughout the morning. The concern here, of course, that it may, with just the sheer volume of outages, it may take days for all the lights to get turned back on.
We're also tracking school closures this morning. Right now, you can see on the map most schools and government offices are canceled or remote today. We have a full list inside the WCNC Charlotte mobile app, as well as scrolling at the bottom of your screen. As you can imagine, Charlotte Douglas Airport is a mess this morning. We checked just moments ago, and so far, they have 260 cancellations, 182 delays. We do expect those numbers to continue climbing throughout the day. So if you do have a flight today, if you're waiting on someone to fly in, make sure to keep a close eye on any updates with the airline.
Right now, live radar of Helene's path as it stands at this hour. There on the right, you see new video just into our newsroom. Folks down in Georgia feeling the impacts of Helene. You can see folks being rescued by a boat. This isn't an apartment complex just north of Atlanta. Serious situation there for folks in Georgia. And now more new video just into our newsroom overnight. This was down in Florida, just west of Tampa. You can see the storm surge already a few feet high. We'll get a better look at that damage as the sun comes up this morning. And now let's go to live pictures of Hickory, where you could see some wet roads there and rain as it starts to move in over the next few hours. The mountain areas getting hit especially hard to the west of Hickory. Chris and Larry, they've mentioned that that region could see record-breaking flooding today. We're back with more WCNC weather impact forecasts after this.
WCNC Charlotte traffic sponsored by Audi Charlotte, the #1 Audi dealer in the Carolinas.
The situation outside only expected to get worse at the top of the hour around 6 a.m. as we continue to track Tropical Storm Helene as it sweeps into the Carolinas over the next few hours. Let's go ahead and send it over to Larry Sprinkle and Chris with the latest on your WCNC weather impact forecast.
You know, as beautiful as the Charlotte metro area is, all the beautiful trees, that also is a major issue because those trees like that, these huge oak trees that are 7,500 years old, Yeah, the soil's weakened. They go down just like that right there. That was about an hour ago, right?
Yeah, it's really concerning because that was a wind gust reported at 30 miles per hour at that time. Winds are picking up a little bit more over in Burke County, but the most recent report was a tree fell on a vehicle at Cape Hickory Road in Burke County, and then injuries were involved with this. And it's over 50% of the fatalities that happen during wind events are usually from downed trees. So keep that in mind. And I think that's really the biggest concern. Even after it stops raining, Larry, those wind gusts taking down these trees, if it's already happened at 30, and I think it'll continue to happen.
Heavy rain. You can see the impacts right there. We have more on what happens across our area, and of course the latest news coming up right here next on WCNC Charlotte.
Don't miss the Hot Tub and Swim Spa Blowout Expo this weekend at the Hickory Metro Convention Center. Browse over 30 hot tubs, cold therapy tubs, swim spas, and saunas from major brands and up to 50% off. That's the Hot Tub and Swim Spa Blowout Expo this weekend.
Those impacts of Tropical Storm Helene. Right now, multiple warnings are in effect, including flash flood warnings in multiple counties. More to come. Winds are only going to get stronger in the Charlotte metro area today. Thanks for waking up with us. I'm Sarah French.
And I'm Ben Thompson. Our team has been tracking the storm all night long into the morning hours. Destiny Richards has a check of the roads this morning. A number of problems out there because trees are already falling. But let's get straight out to our WCNC Weather Impact team. Chris and Larry on top of this storm all morning long. Larry, for folks within the 45 loop, this is just now really beginning as far as the worst of it.
No doubt about that. Yeah, the entire area being impacted and just starting to enter into our area. The very latest now tropical storm Helene, winds at 70 miles an hour. That is a very strong tropical storm, and it is moving at a fast pace, moving at 30 miles per hour north. It's about 40 miles east of Macon, Georgia at the current time. It made landfall last night about 10 minutes after 11 in Perry, Florida as a Category 4 hurricane. Here's what we're dealing with in our area today. We're talking about major impacts from flood conditions, high winds. Tornado threat is certainly there, limited as mild as any lightning or anything like hail, but certainly the potential for some strong and severe storms. This is the radar picture. You can see that center of circulation right there. This storm system covers about 450 to 500 miles. That's why the impacts are being felt hundreds of miles from the center of circulation. Radar picture indicates some heavy rainfall, much heavy rainfall all the way up towards just north of Monroe, all the way up towards Interstate 77 and 485, down towards Indian Land, over towards Pineville, that area to Gaston County, up 321 between Gastonia and Lincoln. We'll kind of zoom in and show you some of the heavy rainfall about Pineville towards Lake Wiley, TKK, Berry Hill community, over towards Matthews along 485, all the way to Mint Hill. Once again, we'll take a look and show you the impacts we're going to see as far as the heavy rain. We're starting to see it happen right now. Between now and 6 a.m., a heavy rain will be covering the entire region west of here. Then look at the impacts we see around 8 o'clock. This is all rain. Heavy flooding rain. Flood potential is certainly there. Areas have already flooded. You'll see more. If you haven't had any flooding conditions yet, you know, some of those little small tributaries, some of the just small creeks will overflow just as they do in most cases. It'll definitely happen today. Then the storm system by lunchtime should be moving away from us because it is a very fast moving system. Current winds, these are sustained winds, 26 mile an hour sustained wind here in Charlotte, 30 at Lancaster, 24 at Chester in South Carolina. Then we're getting some gusty winds up to 35 to 45, even 50 mile an hour wind gusts continuing throughout the morning all the way into the afternoon. So that's something we're going to be weather aware about, the potential for some winds gusting 55 to 65 miles per hour. And with that, power outage impacts with those sustained winds 20 to 35 and winds gusting 40 to 60 miles per hour, a very high potential for power outages across the entire area. We've heard about Duke Energy. The crews are out there stationed in place. We don't have any major impacts as far as power outages yet, but I think that's certainly going to increase over the next several hours. Missed a little bit of data there on our hourly forecast, but here's that Guy Roofing 7-day forecast. Weather impacts all day today, but a nice weekend, low 80s on Saturday and again on Sunday. Chris, what's the latest over there in Weather Center? You got some impacts happening right now.
Yeah, I'm really focusing on what's happening in the south because I think especially our South Carolina counties, you need to be on guard that over the next hour or so, we're going to have some strong thunderstorms that could produce a tornado. So we'll get to that in 1 second. Here are the max wind gusts so far this morning. We had a gust to 45 miles per hour in Charlotte, 44 in Chester, and then we also had about 23 in Morganton. Surprised that's not higher. And then you also have 37 over Nashville. So you're really starting to hit some stronger wind gusts. I think these are easily going to get to 55, 60, especially down towards the southwest. Here's what I'm talking about. It's now actively raining heading into uptown. We have light to moderate rain spreading across the area. It is moving at a pretty good clip up to about 60 miles per hour. So that's a good testament. When these storm systems are moving at 60 miles per hour, that means they have the ability of producing winds up to 60 miles per hour. Here's my concern. Check it out. We have a tornado warning down towards the south. Now, it's over in Sumter, South Carolina, so it's not affecting us yet. Here's the deal, though. If we put a track on here moving at 60 miles per hour or towards the north-northwest, that means areas like Lancaster, you could have this storm system that's already produced multiple tornado warnings right around 618. Van Wyck about 628. Waxhaw about 631, Rock Hill 636, Fort Mill close to 640. That's where you're going to have these cells that are going to be on your doorstep that have actively produced a tornado warning. So just letting you know, we're probably going to have to at one point cut in, go wall to wall, letting you know once these tornado warnings start to get going. So really about 30 minutes from right now, about 6 to 10 o'clock, that's our prime time. Not only do you have the strongest winds, the heaviest rain, but also the highest tornado threat. So we'll continue to keep you updated as that grows a little bit closer. Again, it's going to be 6 to 10. Now, if you safely can do so, we have our WCNC News app. You can go to the Near Me section and send us any photos that you have. In the meantime, traffic's also a mess already. Destiny, what's going on?
Well, right now we have our traffic tracker heading to a situation on I-77 southbound. There's actually a lane that is closed near Remount Road. So we'll talk a little bit about that once we get to the map. But just know you're going to be dealing with a lot of wet roads, a lot of debris on the roads, fallen trees, things like that. So let's go to the map. A lot going on right now, but let's go into here first. Roadblocks because of fallen power lines and trees. This is at US 321 between Seagreer Beam Boulevard and Tulip Drive. This closure has been in place since last night. And then here we can talk about, this was showing as an accident on the SIG alert map, but it's actually crews working on a down power line here. So a lane is blocked on I-77 southbound at Remount Road. So just be aware of that this morning. Crews are working on it and our traffic tracker is on the way to check it out. And then we can go into this here. This is another thing that we might be dealing with this morning. Traffic lights that are not working. This is south of us near the 485 loop. Traffic lights not working at Pineville Matthews Road, NC 51 at Paces Avenue. So just be aware of that this morning. Take your time.
Dusty, thanks. And as you wake up this morning and join us, we are reminding you to stay weather aware. Let's go to live pictures right now over uptown. And listen, folks, if you live in Charlotte, heavy rain moving in even as we speak. Uptown starting to see the rain in just the last 10 minutes. And just a few miles northwest of this spot, folks in Mountain Island Lake now under a voluntary evacuation order this morning. WCNC Charlotte's Richard Devane joins us right now. Richard, starting to rain there where you are. What's the latest?
Yeah, it's beginning to rain, Ben. I can already tell you that basically some of the houses that normally have a little water close to their yards are now actually going underwater. Just up the street here, this is Riverside Drive. If you want to take a look as Ruben pans up the street, you can still see those flashing lights. That's because they had to perform a water rescue, actually, of a National Guard high water unit. Now, let's take a look at some video. This is video of them actually bringing those National Guards members who were in that unit back to land, to dry land. They were standing in that unit when we pulled up. That unit was trying to just go around Riverside Drive where the street is totally flooded. They were trying to go around, but we were told that they accidentally hit a culvert, not knowing how to navigate that area. There was a culvert there, which underscores the fact that when you're driving, if you see water, you don't know what's under that water, so it's best not to try to go through it. They fortunately been rescued. That whole street where now as we come back here live, you can see up the street with those lights, that whole street is now a river. This has happened before. Some of the residents have talked about 2019 being really, really bad. And so far, some of the residents who were here during 2019 say it's already looking like it's as bad. And we can tell you it looks like it can get a lot worse. We're right here off of Riverside Drive in Charlotte. This is Richard Devane. We'll send it back to you.
All right, Richard, thank you. Turning now to South Carolina, where WCNC Charlotte's Helene Hagwood joins us live from Rock Hill. And Helene, folks there had their wettest day ever in recorded history yesterday. What could that mean for the area today?
Well, that's right, Sarah, and things are only getting worse. Just within the past hour, we've already started to see that rain pick up. The wind so strong at times, it feels like it's pushing me, and so loud you can actually hear it whipping past the trees. Now, that rain from yesterday adding on, creating scenes just like this outside the Catawba River, on the Catawba River, rather. This is actually a parking lot at the Pump House restaurant, if you've ever been, and you can actually see, count 3, 4, 5, 6 trash cans, all that have now floated into this parking lot as those river levels rise. It's scenes like this that we're expecting to see across our area, and not only in the flood-prone areas, but other areas. And it's why officials want you to be particularly careful if you're out driving on the roadways, especially if you're in Rock Hill, because we saw such record rainfall yesterday. That can cause that ground to be saturated, making it easier for trees to topple over, which should cause you to lose power. If you have power now, you should charge your devices and be prepared. Any items that you have outside, you're going to want to tie those down and just make sure that you are weather aware today as this storm continues to strengthen. Reporting live here in Rock Hill, Helene Hagwood, WCNC Charlotte.
And again, our team expecting the worst of it to happen starting at the top of the hour around 6 a.m. through 10 a.m. this morning here in the Charlotte area. All right, Helene, be safe out there. Thank you. And WCNC Charlotte is going to stay on top of this storm as we track Helene. Remember, you can watch us online. If you lose power, it's a great way to stay connected and stay weather aware. More WCNC weather impact coverage of Tropical Storm Helene next.
I think this is my favorite. Okay. What do you think of this one?
From design and products to removal and installation, Rebath is with you through every step of your remodel. Take advantage.
Situation, historical situations where we're seeing, and all the time I've been doing weather, yeah, we talk about Hugo, but this is such a massive area, Chris. I mean, how much territory it covers?
Yeah, pretty much the entirety of the western Carolinas are dealing with heavy rain, some historic flooding, and we've also had, I would say, probably about a dozen tornado warnings south of us, and that's also another concern. So I'm going to really reiterate this. We're also under a tornado watch on top of everything else. It's really after 6 o'clock, Lancaster, Chester County, within the hour, even I would include York County, within the hour, there's a chance that we could have our first tornado warnings for our areas. Keep that in mind. So once you hit 6 o'clock, we're definitely going to elevate that threat along with everything else.
Yeah, we saw a couple of tornado warnings yesterday. We'll definitely increase. Here's some of the issues we'll be dealing with today. The impacts from now Tropical Storm Helene with winds at 70 miles an hour. We're talking about the potential for some, yes, very strong high winds, impacts from flooding. We've seen those already, and also, as Chris saying, even a spin-up tornado not out of the question. That could certainly happen over the next several hours. That's why stay weatherware, stay right here at WCNC Charlotte. The entire area, most of it is within the tropical storm warning, and it could certainly be with tropical storm force winds within the area. Let's take a look at Futurecast. Some of the heaviest rain right now is south and west of here. It'll move across the area. This is 6 a.m. this morning. In just a few minutes, we'll start to see bands of heavy rain moving in the Charlotte area. West of here, over towards areas in Asheville into the upstate, heavy rain already. This is at 8 a.m. this morning. The entire area covered in heavy rain. Now, this is in addition to what we've already had. Record-breaking rainfall yesterday. We could add to that today. Then we get to about 11 o'clock this morning. Most of the heavy rain is moving off to the north and out of here. here by about 2, 3 o'clock this afternoon. Satellite radar right now, I froze this picture right here. This is the latest radar, but heavy rain in Atlanta, Georgia, near Columbia and southwest of Charlotte. But the storm system itself covers territories from parts of Alabama, Georgia, obviously Tennessee, and both North and South Carolina. We're going to zoom in here and show you what's happening locally. Some light to moderate rainfall is up Interstate 77 around Huntersville, all the way down to Rock Hill, Clover, Gastonia along 321, all the way down to McConnell's in South Carolina. Charlotte metro area, some of the heaviest rain at the moment over towards Pineville in that area along 485 and west of here, Interstate 40 covered in heavy rain. If you could avoid travel today, it really is a dangerous situation. So much ponding of water out there. We've had so many situations. Water is overflowing many of the roads in some of the counties nearby, especially we're talking about up towards Iredell County. Now, there's a flash flood warning in effect for Iredell County until 8:30. Also one for Alexander, Caldwell counties until 9 this morning, and over at Burke and McDowell counties until 10:15 this morning. We kind of zoom back and show you some other areas with those warnings in effect. It covers the Piedmont, also the western part of the state with some flash flood emergencies in effect west of the Asheville area. Futurecast rainfall, an additional maybe 7 inches at Boone, up to almost 3 inches around Hickory. We could see almost another 2 inches right here in the Charlotte area. That's over the next, say, probably 6-7 hours. Current winds, sustained winds right now, 26-mile-per-hour wind at Charlotte, 23 at Lancaster, 26 at Chester. Then we got some very gusty winds as well. Seeing some winds gusting at 45 miles per hour at Charlotte. In Columbia, South Carolina, they're getting winds gusting to 60 miles an hour, 56 in Charleston. So we're starting to see the impacts from this. Here's our hourly wind forecast for the Charlotte metro area. Take you to around 9 a.m. this morning. Notice that winds gusting over 60 miles an hour, over 50 mile an hour wind gusts between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. as we head right into the middle of the afternoon. Remember this as far as driving out there today and walking. 6 inches of water can knock a person down. You see water across the road, turn around, don't drown. 1 foot of water can float a car, and 2 feet of water can take an SUV and float that as well. We're saying if you can stay away from driving today, stay inside, stay weather aware, and make sure that you have your phone charged, got some batteries for flashlights in case the power goes out, because that could certainly happen today. We've already seen that in many areas. All the heavy rains this morning, we could see a peak of sunshine this afternoon. Check that temperature out at about 79 degrees tomorrow. A beautiful day with sunshine and temperatures near 80. Lots of major situations out there. What are the latest impacts? Let's go over to Chris for a check on that right now. Chris?
Yeah, there's almost too much to mention here on this map, but I do want to focus in on one thing. So there's a lot of discussions going on, a lot of data here. And one for the mountains, just letting you know, well, one, you have a 100% chance for a further increase of flash flooding. But some of the data I'm getting right here that over the next several hours leading up to noon, we have a chance of another 2 to 5 inches across the area. Rain rates could be as much as 1 to 3 inches per hour. Soil is completely saturated. The exact discussion that we're hearing from the National Weather Service is locally catastrophic flooding is expected across the area, and the big concern, especially for the North and South Carolina mountains. We're seeing a tremendous amount of runoff, and all that rain you see in the mountains, it has to flow downhill. So that means a lot of these rivers, say around the South Fork, the North Fork, you are going to continue to really see these surge even after the rain stops, and that's why many of these local rivers are going to be at major flood status and some of the highest crests that we have ever seen. So keep that in mind. The flooding has only just begun. The winds have only just picked up as well. What you're also seeing for these icons, you have a bunch of flash flood warnings. Notice all these little rotations. We are now picking up rotation across the area. And what that means for thunderstorms is, yes, our tornado potential is on the rise. So you can see that early onset right here around Camden over in South Carolina. So that means by 6 o'clock, we increase our threat for tornadoes. I think it's really 6 to 10 o'clock. That's what the tornado threat is. And we're actually seeing the heavier winds start to pick up, heaviest rain rates also starting to move in as well. So really hour by hour, things are only going to get worse, especially driving wise. So Destiny, what's going on around town?
Yeah, it's definitely important that you say that because we're already seeing incidents across the area from stalled vehicles to traffic accidents to flooding. So it's really a lot, but of course we can only talk about so much in our TV in our TV capacity. So road blocked right now, fallen power lines and trees at US 321 between Seager, Bean Boulevard and Tulip Drive. This has been hanging around since last night, so be aware of that in Gaston County. And then this popped up recently near the Charlotte Metro. One lane closed due to crews working on a down power line, I-77 southbound at Remount Road. So be aware of that closure. And as you can see, we already have rain that is moving in closer to Charlotte. So lane blocks also due to a crash on Selwyn Avenue and Westfield Road. And then I also want to talk about this. So we have this rain coming in. We have roads closed due to flooding on Shopton Road both ways from Laurel Valley Road to Pinecrest Drive, and then a lane block due to a stalled vehicle on Shopton Road and Beam Road. So we may see a lot of this, a lot of cars getting caught up in these floodwaters, which we do not want that. Turn around, don't drown is the name of the game today, and just give yourself plenty of time if you do have to be on the roads. You really want to stay safe. We'll be back right after this.
At Affordable Dentures and Implants, we want you to go ahead and smile. Right now, new denture wearers get a free upgrade to our premium denture for the price of an economy. Call today.
Our right now, not sure if it actually hit the house or just fell nearby, but folks, we're expecting a scene like this to play out many times over the next few hours. In fact, our team telling us that things are going to get worse once we hit that 6 o'clock hour. Medic there on scene. We'll keep you posted. Larry, join us now with the latest on Helene.
Gusty winds, a major impact. Augusta, Georgia had an 82-mile-per-hour wind gust a moment ago. Now, this is now down to tropical storm force winds sustained at 70. You're talking about Helene. Some wind gusts across our part of the world. Charleston, South Carolina, winds gusting at 51 miles an hour. Columbia, South Carolina, winds gusting at 60 miles an hour, and 52 here in the Queen City. Once again, this is just the beginning. These wind gusts will continue throughout the morning, all the way up to probably about 12 noon today. today. Over the next several hours, the worst will be here. Radar picture indicates center of circulation is just to the southeast of Atlanta, Georgia. We kind of zoom in and show you across our area, starting to get in some bands of heavy rain. So it's the heavy rain, the saturated soil, the big trees, the older, particularly the oak trees, they go down quickly. I think we're going to see more and more of that happen throughout the daytime with some of those winds right now. We've said gusting over 50 miles an hour here in the Charlotte area. Here's that Guy Roofing 7-day forecast. Want to make sure you see what's happening over the next 7 days. Weather aware today with high winds and heavy rain. Weekend not bad at all. Sunshine near 80 tomorrow. Bet the big game going on. Bank of America Stadium on Sunday. Look for highs in the low 80s. And not a bad week next week. We're in the low 80s Monday and Tuesday. And next Wednesday and Thursday, sunshine both days with temperatures in the mid to upper 70s. That's your forecast, Sarah.
All right, Larry, thank you. We'll check back in with Larry in just a few minutes. We're also tracking really a dramatic climb in these power outages. This is a live look at the Duke Energy outage map. Right now, you can see we're up to 27,000 outages, and that number is expected to continue to climb throughout the morning. The concern here is that it may take days to get all of these lights and power back on. We're also tracking those outages up in the mountains this morning. We checked just a few moments ago. Right now, Blue Ridge Energy reporting nearly 4,000 outages. The majority of those are in Watauga, Allegheny, Caldwell, and Ashe counties.
And as you can imagine, the airport is a mess this morning. We just checked moments ago during Larry's forecast, and this is the very latest numbers. 264 cancellations, 361 delays. We do expect those numbers to continue to climb throughout the morning. So if you do have a flight today or you know somebody flying in, make sure you keep up to date with your local airline app.
Chris and I have been working on the situation with a lot of power outages, a lot of major issues this morning. All the details coming up right here on WCNC Charlotte.
Something bad happened.
Oh my God, this is it.
I really just want that person to rot in jail.
There is no way this is happening. You get some news.
to 50 miles an hour started impacting hundreds of thousands in our area. On your left is a live look at the radar, and all of that color will mean serious trouble for folks across the Piedmont. On your right, a live look at Uptown and Blowing Rock. You can just see the rain is starting to come down. But thanks for staying with us, everybody. I'm Sarah French.
And I'm Ben Thompson, the WCNC Weather Impact Team, tracking Helene at this hour. Chris and Larry, you've been busy overnight. For folks just now joining us, it's right now in the 6 a.m. hour. We expect things to get much worse, Larry.
Without a doubt, we're already seeing those major impacts across the southeast, across parts of Georgia and the South Carolina, right here in our area as well. The radar covered in shower activity. Starting to see some moderate to heavy rain. We'll take a look and show you some of the areas we're talking about right now. Getting some moderate to heavy rainfall even up towards Catawba County, up around the Hickory area. Starting to see some impacts there. You folks in Hickory will see the major impacts probably within the next 35 to 45 minutes. Back to the radar once again to show you the heaviest rainfall right now has all morning been west of the Charlotte area, west of Interstate 77, from Rutherford County all the way over towards Transylvania County, over towards Buncombe County, into the upstate of South Carolina, Greenville, Spartanburg. So that means travel troubles all the way Interstate 85 southbound, Highway 74 anywhere westbound, Interstate 40 westbound. Charlotte area getting some light to moderate rainfall here. We'll kind of zoom in and show you some of the shower activity going on. Monroe getting some heavier rainfall. Charlotte, Gastonia along 321 up to Lincoln, all the way down to Clover, York, and McConnell's in South Carolina. Interstate 77 southbound around the Rock Hill area. Some very heavy rainfall. Enough here in the Charlotte area. Enough rain has fallen recently. We're starting to get some reports of flood warnings. A lot of flood warnings in the western part of the state. Black Mountain over towards Asheville up to Morganton, all the way down into Rutherford County around Lake Lure and that area. Here's what we're talking about right now. We do have some major flood warnings in effect. The latest just to come in, a new warning, flash flood warning for Cabarrus, Mecklenburg County, and Union County in North Carolina. Also, we have up in Iredell County, major situation up there with some major problems. Many of the roads completely covered in water. Also down in South Carolina, Cherokee County and York County in South Carolina. Those are also flash flood warnings. These are sustained winds. Here in Charlotte, sustained wind at 25 miles per hour, 29 mile per hour sustained wind. Lancaster in South Carolina. These are the gusts. We're getting some gusts up to about 52 miles per hour here in Charlotte, 55 at Columbia. So this is the time we're starting to see some major impacts from those high winds, and this is all tropical storm force winds. Check this out. Over the next several hours, we're going to see winds up to 65 miles an hour in gusts, and that would be between about 8 a.m. and 10 a.m. this morning. So if you have plans to be outside today, try to limit your time outside, and most of the morning is just going to be a good time to stay inside, be weather aware, make sure your phone battery is charged, make sure that you have batteries to charge up the flashlights, whatever, because we're going to see a lot of power outages. In fact, Chris has been looking over some of those. A lot of power outages starting to happen across the two-state area, Chris.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy how much those power outages have grown, and I'll mention the newest data that just came down for that. We've been tracking North Carolina, South Carolina. South Carolina right now has a range of some counties up to 60% of them are without power. It's about 12% of Anson County you've lost power. Now 10% of Gaston County and 30% of Avery County. And that's why I want to bring it up. We have now our second flash flood emergency of the morning. A flash flood emergency is meaning that you have life-threatening flash flooding, where 7 to 10 inches of rain have now fallen in Mitchell County and also Avery County. This is a very rare situation. We have one west of Asheville around Haywood County. This is the second one that we're seeing here because now the heavier rain is starting to move in, and we're already seeing a lot of people having to evacuate some of their homes. They were saying in Mitchell County, which is just a testament of what Avery County could see as well. This is a particularly dangerous situation as put for this verbiage, where Mitchell County says that they have located a shelter at Mitchell High School at 416 Ledger School Road. I know that's just outside of our viewing area, but it really shows that if that's already happening in Mitchell County, we're likely going to be seeing some more of those situations around Avery County as well. The way that the flash flood tier system goes, once you have a flash flood warning, you're not going to be notified. When it becomes considerable, that's where it really becomes life-threatening or it could significantly damage property, it's going to notify you on your phone. And you've already been alerted here in Burke County, Caldwell County, and Alexander County, because that point is moved into tier number 2. If we continue to see that rain, we could actually see a lot more of these flash flood emergencies across the area. Continue to stay safe, seek higher ground. Some areas are also getting knocked door to door, maybe be asked to evacuate some of their homes. So we've only just begun here rain-wise, and also our tornado window is going to open up here very shortly. After 6 o'clock, we've already seen active tornado warnings down towards the south. That is going to be a possibility right down here. They're mainly well down to the southeast, but really 6 to 10 is my main threat for that. So Destiny, we've only just begun, and you're already seeing a nightmare of a commute.
That's right. We have our traffic tracker on the scene now of a downed tree that's at I-77, and he says it's closer instead of Remount Road to the Clanton Road exit, so that is exit 7 on I-77 southbound. But just be aware of that. Also, be careful when driving, not only in this weather, but also near the first responders who are responding to scenes like this. So let's go to the map now. Here we can see just the full mess here, and it has kind of accelerated and heated up since this rain has been moving in. Just 2 closures to really tell you about. This one on US 321 in Gaston County, and then this one right here is the one that we told you about. It was originally reported as a power line down, but it is actually a down tree. So really be careful out there as the weather system starts to heat up this morning.
All right, now to continuing coverage right now of Helene as it is this morning. We've got some live pictures we're going to show you coming up in just a second, but let's go ahead and get out to our team coverage. We've got crews stationed across the Piedmont and in the mountains this morning getting us new information. First up, let's go to WCNC Charlotte's Miles Harris. He's live up in Blowing Rock, I believe, maybe Boone. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but we know that that's one of the hardest hit areas in our viewing area. Miles.
Yeah, Ben, really, the rain has really picked up from what we saw here yesterday. Let me show you exactly where we are here. So, yes, we are in Boone, and this is actually Deerfield Road here, and I want to show you this roadway here. And so it's a little quiet right now, but if you look at the street lights there pointing at the roadway, you can really start to get an idea of seeing just how this rain and these heavy winds have really started to pick up in this area, really at this hour as well. And here's the thing, when it comes to that rainfall coming down in this area here, it is really doing its work on the roadways here and really making it an issue for people on the roadways here. So again, that's why emergency crews are asking people to stay off the roads if need be. And so look, several counties and emergency departments, they are looking forward to tackling this with an all hands on deck approach. Now look, the combination of both strong winds and heavy rain can certainly be felt in this area. Now preparations for Hurricane Helene have really been in the works all week. Now several counties and emergency departments, they are tackling this again with an all hands on deck approach. And with more heavy rain and strong winds expected, we've got a chance to ask the Watauga County Emergency Department just how they prepare for weather this severe.
As far as preparation goes, our local swiftwater teams are staffed. We have requested and received additional, teams from outside of the area through North Carolina Emergency Management. We also just, continue to plan and work. I know that the municipalities up through this week have been working to clear out storm drainages and things like that. Yeah, so just moving along and preparing as far as that goes.
Now, flood warning is in effect here in Watauga County, and that's really why an important message coming from the emergency departments to the residents in this area are really to stay alert, stay prepared, and above all, most importantly, stay safe as well. Reporting live here in Watauga County, Miles Harris, WCNC.
All right, Miles, thank you. We're going to continue our team coverage right now. About 140 miles south of where Miles is, WCNC Charlotte's Kaylin Hagwood now in Rock Hill. She's been there throughout the morning. Kaylin, what's the situation now as we now know that Helene is sweeping into the Carolinas?
Well, Ben, I can tell you every 30 minutes the rain gets stronger here in Rock Hill. The wind so strong it feels like it is pushing me at times, and I can hear it loud in my ear as it's whipping past those trees, creating scenes like this. This is actually a parking lot, but look, I want you to walk with me here now. This is up to my ankles. I'm not even going to go any deeper because we don't know what's in this water, but if you look behind me, that is actually a bike rack in this parking lot. You can hardly even see it now, and that has just happened within the last 2 hours of us being out here. Now, these are scenes like what we're going to see around this area after Rock Hill already saw record rainfall yesterday, and that was just a precursor of Helene. As Ben mentioned, Helene is now here. It's the reason why officials are asking you to stay off of the roadways as this continues to come, and be mindful that trees could more easily topple over, especially in areas like Rock Hill that saw heavy rain, that ground saturated, can make it easier for those trees to come down can make it easier for you to lose power. So if you have power right now, charge your devices, get ready, stay weather aware, and stay with us. We're going to continue to follow this live here in Rock Hill. I'm going to send it back to you.
All right, Kaylin, thank you. WCNC Charlotte will stay on top of this storm as it moves into our area as we track Helene. Remember, you can watch us online. If you do lose power, it's a great way to stay connected and stay weather aware. More WCNC weather impact coverage of Tropical Storm Helene coming up after the break.
The Morgans are gearing up to replace their drafty old windows.
Window Nation's free in-home estimate makes it so easy.
They're choosing from an incredible selection of custom windows.
And getting the
will have a check on your forecast, how it's going to affect you, with hundreds of thousands of people here waking up to the impacts of this storm.
Thanks, Sarah. We're back over in the Weather Center, WCNC Charlotte, all the impacts today. I think, unfortunately, when the sun comes up today, we're going to see a lot of devastation, particularly over in the mountains from Asheville, that entire area, west of there towards Transylvania County. Just massive amounts of water and a lot of flood emergencies in that area. I know that you've been checking on that, and the power outages on top of it.
Yeah, I want to say now it's officially, let me see, we have four counties under flash flood emergencies off towards the west. And what's really concerning is we're seeing people, water rescues and people displaced from their homes here in Mitchell County, and now Avery County's been included in that. And look at this loop. You can see how much rain is still coming towards that area, and they're under an emergency. So this is a life-threatening situation for anyone in the orange, for the red, or really across the area. Larry, you said it earlier, do not drive if you don't have to.
If you can't, and if you live in an area and you've seen some flash flood situations, it's going to happen. It's going to be worse out there. Let's talk about some of the impacts that we're going to see across here today. Major impacts from the amount of rain that we've already had. In addition, I think the average in the Charlotte area is going to be well over 2 inches more. Also, the impact from those high winds, that will be a major threat today with some gusts maybe up to about 60 miles per hour. And also a spin-up tornado threat. We saw it yesterday. That chance will increase steadily throughout the daytime hours today. So the impacts, high winds, heavy rain, and rain causing major flood issues across the entire region. Those are some of the big impacts that we're going to see today. And as far as any threat, as far as tornado warnings, yeah, we've seen the potential for those spin-up tornadoes across here. So think about that. If you have travel plans for that, you may want to limit your time out there today. Drive safely. You have to slow down. And then if you come across any situation with a lot of water, we say turn around, don't drown. Let's go back over to Chris' computer here and look at some of the situations as far as that rainfall. Check the radar there, weather one. There you go. Heavy rain, flooding conditions, flash flood warnings in effect for almost the entire region. It does include here in Mecklenburg County. The problem that we have in a city like Charlotte and Mecklenburg County, the amount of the tree canopy we have here, and with winds gusting up to about 50, 60 miles an hour, those trees are going down already, Chris.
Yeah, it's not something that you want to see. And our future wind gusts, we've already seen them up to about 50 miles per hour here. We saw one at 60 miles per hour in Columbia. I just actually saw reports, Larry, that we actually had some wind gusts up to about 80 miles per hour.
Then around Augusta.
82 in Augusta. But then also Kershaw County, which is just a county away from our southern viewing area, has over a dozen downed trees, few into houses. Really a crazy situation here. But Larry, here's the future cast of what people can expect for the rest of the morning into the afternoon.
And we'll say this, it doesn't take a tornado to do a lot of damage. No. You can take a look at futurecast. All the very heavy rainfall just starting between now and 6, 7, 8 o'clock. I would say between now and probably 10 this morning, the heavy bands of rain will track across here. That's going to cause flood concerns. It's going to cause a lot of problems on the streets. Earlier, very early this morning, last night, even Independence Boulevard near the Eastway overpass there had flood conditions. I think that's going to increase. We encourage people, we keep talking about this, if you can avoid being on the roads today, I would say be weather aware, be safe, and stay inside. So that could be a major issue. The fact that people traveling today could cause some problems out there. The good news about the Guy Roofing 7-day forecast, we're weather aware today. Lots of problems, but from tomorrow over the weekend all the way into next week, we're looking at sunny skies, and for Bank of America Stadium on Sunday, it's going to be very pleasant. Temperatures right around 82 on Sunday. So yeah, those are some big issues out there, Chris. And we'll take a look and show you what's going on as far as the streets. A lot of problems on the streets this morning. Here's Destiny.
Definitely. What's happening in the weather, of course, is going to mirror what's happening on the roads. And we've got a lot of accidents that are popping up, mostly road blockages, probably from downed trees, power lines, things like that. So first want to report on this that has now cleared from last night, a roadblock because of power lines down and trees down on US 321. However, I'll step out of the way here. A little further over to the west is a roadblock due to a fallen tree on Linwood Road, northbound from McSwain Groves Road to Archie Whitesides Road. So that is something that is recently blocked up. There's a lot more road blockages that are happening in the Charlotte metro area. We'll get to those a little later.
Hey, thank you. And take a look at this new video just into our newsroom of flooding at Mountain Island Lake. That's where we find WCNC Charlotte's Richard Devane. Richard, you actually saw a pretty scary rescue just moments ago.
Yeah, the Charlotte Fire Department actually performs these swiftwater rescues. We've seen them over the years, and this time they were actually rescuing some National Guard members. We can say that they were safely taken out of their high water vehicle, which actually had hit a culvert and was stuck. And that's just underscores just how important it is to know that when you see standing water, turn around, don't drown. Now, as we look at video, we can this is actually video, if we have it there, of that scene when they were making that rescue of those National Guards members who were just going around this corner, which is Riverside Drive. Riverside Drive actually floods quite often at the lower elevations or the lowest point. People in this area have actually moved their cars up the block because that's a higher elevation. But we can tell you as we come back here, well, first of all, we spoke to a resident who lives down on Riverside Drive. He explained to us the situation as he sees it when he had to evacuate his home. Take a listen.
We only knew that there was something going on because the neighbors told us, and everybody had been through 2019, so kind of knew we're a little bit prepared. We didn't hear from Duke until 6 p.m. That was the first time we got a text. So being new to the area, we didn't know how serious to take this. Like, is this totally precautionary? We were going to stay the night until 11 o'clock at night tonight was when we finally bailed out of the house.
Yeah, and good thing they did because they live further down that street. Now, as you see those white lights there, that's where Riverside Drive starts to turn. That entire area, that whole street, is now underwater, and you hear this dog barking. They actually live right here, and there is water coming up on their land as well, so there is going to be massive amounts of flooding here today. Of course, we'll keep you posted and give you the latest throughout the day, but right now we're off of Riverside Drive. Guys, we'll send it back to you.
All right, Richard, thanks. As we go to break, live pictures right now over King Street in Boone. As Helene moves into the Carolinas there, we've actually watched waves of water crash up against the roadway there. Again, this is the middle of downtown Boone. They're expecting to get several more inches of rain in the next few hours. We'll back with the latest on your WCNC weather impact forecast after the break.
What's the score of the game?
In Mecklenburg County, you were originally updated to a flash flood warning that is a considerable tag.
Yeah.
So what they have is a 3-tier system. Flash flood warning, you're not going to be notified on your phone. Once property and life are starting to become threatened, where it's a possible threaten to life, that's where you're going to be upgraded to at least a considerable flash flood warning. Meanwhile, areas in Avery County, you're under a flash flood emergency, meaning that it is threatening life right now. So life-threatening flash flood in there, just a considerable. If you had your phone go off, you probably heard it in Burke County over the last few hours. Also, Alexander and Caldwell County are under a considerable flash flood warning, meaning that your flood threat has upgraded a tier.
If you're watching us right now, if you're watching WCNC Charlotte, what you're hearing about certain areas, I would say be aware that's probably going to take place. Take into consideration where you live watching us right now. There is a situation that is almost an emergency for the entire area. If you can avoid leaving your home today, stay there, because it is a dangerous situation on the streets. We'll take a look at the radar and show we're talking about heavy rain covering the entire area. We could see an additional 2 inches of rain here in Charlotte. You go west of here, another 3 to 5 inches of rain possible, Chris.
Oh, and it's crazy as far as some of these rain rates are coming down too. So going to our Doppler radar, you can just see how heavy some of this rain is. Some of these falling down, let's see, you're seeing about a 1/4 inch of rain per hour. That's not too bad, but a lot of these about a 1/4 to a 1/2 inch, an inch per hour. Yeah. All that is working its way to the north and west. So those under any sort of flash flood warning, it could come up a tier. So don't be surprised if you have multiple warnings as these are extended, that you could be notified by a WIA, that's the Wireless Emergency Alert System. So I think we're going to continue to see these because the rain is going to continue to pick up over the next couple hours.
Major problem. So we have the heavy rain and the high winds. That's going to increase the potential for trees, which we've already seen going down. There are lots of power outages across the entire area. That will continue to increase throughout the day. And also the threat of a spin-up tornado. All those making us weather aware here on this Friday morning as we see the impacts from Helene. We've got more coming up right here, right after the break.
I got them AR-15s in case the government gets too big for its britches. Because I'm going to fill the backside of them britches with lead. Go into battle and take the head.
few minutes, you likely got an alert on your phone. Video last hour showing how strong and destructive the storm has become here in the Carolinas.
You're taking a live look right now at Fountain Park and Rock Hill. Powerful, strong winds, absolutely going and hitting the Charlotte area. That will be the story over the next several hours as Helene intensifies. Thanks for staying with us, everybody. I'm Sarah French.
And I'm Ben Thompson. As you wake up this morning, we want you to stay weather aware. This is a dangerous situation in many parts right now. Destiny Richards breaking down how it could impact your commute. Lots of trees down already. But first, Larry and Chris tracking the big developments in the storm.